Same question I asked yesterday, a question that he suspiciously avoided answering. Did any minister or members of their political staff speak with Justice Rouleau before his appointment as Commissioner on the inquiry into the Emergencies Act? Did they discuss what kind of evidence the inquiry would or would not seek, including documents covered under cabinet confidence or solicitor-client privilege?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure my honourable colleague that the government is fully committed to being transparent around the events and circumstances that led to the invocation of the Emergencies Act. Last week, we launched the public inquiry, affording Justice Rouleau broad powers to compel witnesses, to compel documents and information, including some classified information, should he so choose to ask for it. Our intention is to shine a light on those events, and it would be certainly, I think, a point of departure to hear the Conservatives recognize that there was an emergency. We fulfilled our responsibility to protect Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, he's avoiding the question again, but I'll move on. This past weekend, Ottawa saw the so-called Rolling Thunder protests come and go without major incident. Now, during the Freedom Convoy protests, the government claimed that they needed the Emergencies Act because they needed to compel tow truck drivers to remove the protesters. Now, over this last weekend, we saw many vehicles towed without needing the Emergencies Act. Yet another blow to this government's fabricated claims. If the government didn't need extraordinary powers to get the tow trucks, what did they need them for?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I'd like to begin by expressing my gratitude to all frontline police officers, including members of the RCMP, who ensured that we were able to maintain public safety over the course of the past weekend. Of course, there are big distinctions between what occurred last weekend and what occurred last winter, which was a national emergency, Mr. Speaker. We invoked the Emergencies Act after we received advice from law enforcement. Once it was invoked, we were able to restore our public safety, and now we'll ensure that there's transparency in the accountability of that decision. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the minister claimed the Liberals invoked the Emergencies Act because they needed it, and yet again there was a large protest related to the winter one that he just referred to this past weekend, but as far as I'm aware, no one remains camped out on the roadways around Parliament, which is in direct contradiction to what the minister is claiming, because as this past weekend showed, with leadership and coordination between government and police, peace and order can be maintained. Mr. Speaker, there was clearly a failure by these Liberals to show leadership during the winter protest, as the minister refers to it, and they used the Emergencies Act to bail themselves out. Isn't that right, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I would point out that notwithstanding the fact that public safety was maintained, that there were enforcement actions taken last week as a result of some individuals who, again, crossed the line and broke the law. And it would be, again, an opportunity for the Conservatives to recognize, finally, after now months of denying that there was an emergency, because collectively we have a responsibility and a burden as parliamentarians to uphold the law. That's exactly what we did when we invoked the Emergencies Act, and now we'll ensure there's transparency so that all Canadians can be reaffirmed in that decision. Thank you.